A provision in the tax bill may mean major ramifications for Canadians with U.S. investments. Today, we're going to talk what those ramifications may be, who may be impacted, and some strategies to avoid the new higher tax. Hello, my name is Brian Haggard. I'm a certified financial planner, chartered financial analyst. I'm the founder of Retirement and Financial. We help simplify your cross-border retirement plan. And one of the things that we help our clients with is try to minimize taxes. And that's not always so easy with cross-border planning. And it may be even more difficult under the new Big Beautiful Tax Bill. Section 899 of the Big Beautiful Tax Bill would more than double with tax withholding on dividends and interest that Canadians receive from US companies or stocks. That could increase your withholding from 15% all the way to 35%. Now, this is not a law yet. We're going to talk about what the next steps are for this becoming a law, and it may not ultimately impact Canadians, but it's something that you do want to be prepared for. So currently, if you are living in Canada and you are invested in US companies, the current withholding, if you receive any dividends or interest from those companies or US bonds, is 15%. Now, that 15% gets withheld by the US, but those taxes or those dividends still get included on your Canadian tax return. And that 15% that's being withheld by the US, then counts as a foreign tax credit against your Canadian taxes, and it kind of is a wash for you. Now, with this new provision in the Big Beautiful Bill, that withholding would go all the way up to 35%, increases by 5% for per year, up to 4 years for a total of 20% increase. So instead of those dividends having only a 15% withholding, now that withholding goes all the way up to 35%. That's a major jump for taxes for Canadians. Now, who would this be impacted? Now, this is a new provision in this bill to combat what the current administration feels like are unfair taxes that different countries are imposing. Currently, Canada is one of those countries that would be impacted. So if you are a non-US resident and a non-citizen of the US, if you are living in Canada, you would be impacted. Now, in our opinion, not every account will be impacted. It will probably just be non-registered accounts. IRA accounts and Roth IRA accounts, in our opinion, would not be impacted on this. Real estate would be impacted if you are selling property here in the States, that would be impacted. But again, we don't believe it will impact IRAs or Roth IRAs. So if you have a brokerage account up in Canada, if you're a Canadian resident and you are invested in US companies, US stocks, US bonds, those were going to be the people that are going to mainly be impacted by this new rule. So, what's next? So, the bill is currently sitting in the US Senate. It isn't a bill, it isn't a law yet. President Trump has asked the Senate to have this delivered to him by the 4th of July. So, within about the next month or so, we should have some more details. Once it's approved by the Senate, we'll go to Trump to ultimately sign off. We do expect these changes to not occur until 2026. So yes, if you currently have US companies, if you're one of those people who may be impacted by this, you shouldn't have to worry about this until 2026. And there is some uncertainty if this ultimately will impact Canadians. It's possible that Canada could drop some of their laws. This is still a bill. It could never go into law. But right now, it looks like this will be going through. And I'd be surprised if this part of the law or this part of the bill is eliminated. So let's just say that you are a Canadian resident, you're not a US citizen, and you do have US investments. What are some things that you may want to do to try to avoid this new tax law or potential tax law? First, you may stop investing in US companies in your non-registered accounts. And you might have RSPs or liras that you can invest in US companies. That should be fine. But in non-registered accounts, you may want to stop investing in US companies. To me, this is why this tax bill or at least proposal is so strange. Ultimately, this may impact US companies because it could kind of deter international folks from investing in US companies. Makes it a little bit strange to me, but if you are a Canadian that may be impacted by this, you may want to stop investing or lowering your US investments. Or you may want to invest in companies that pay little or no dividends or interest. Now, a lot of the big companies that people are investing in here in the US, such as Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, those big tech companies tend to pay very little to no dividends anyway. So even if this bill does go into effect, you may find very little impact on your investments, even if you are investing in US companies. You probably do want to avoid those US companies that are those big dividend payers. But a lot of the US companies don't pay those big dividends anyway, so you may be safe. You also want to avoid US bonds and non-registered accounts. Again, this is still not a law. There's still, but we would expect that this would be going through, and we do expect this to impact Canadians. So if you are a non-US citizen, if you're a Canadian resident, and you have non-registered accounts with US investments, in all likelihood, you will be impacted by this new bill, and you may want to start to look at strategies to minimize the taxes if that's the case. In cross-border planning, if you're interested in getting any assistance, you can schedule a time to meet with one of our consultants down below. You can also download our free cross-border checklist down below as well. Thanks for listening. Look forward to speaking with you soon.